Welcome to the Lean Blog Podcast. Visit our website at www.leanblog.org. Now, here's your host, Mark Graban.
Hi, this is Mark Graban. Welcome to episode 138 of the podcast for February 9th, 2012. Our guest today is Al Norval from Lean Pathways, and we're going to be talking about a document that he's written and they've published called the Lean Manifesto, Back to Basics, How a Lean Business System Creates Value by Engaging Everyone in Improvement. So I'm happy to be talking to Al about that today. If you want an easy link to download the document, you can go to leanblog.org/138, and there will be an easy link for you to click on. Now, one other thing I'm happy to announce about the podcast is that I am now available on Stitcher Smart Radio, which is a really cool app. I use it on my iPhone. It's also available for Android and BlackBerry. And instead of downloading and syncing podcasts, you can listen to them over a streaming network, which is going to be, I think, convenient for some listeners, depending on how you listen to the podcast. Well, you can download the app if you go to stitcher.com/leanblog. Enter the promo code LeanBlog, and you'll have a chance to win $100 from Stitcher. So I'm very happy to be part of that program, that platform. It's a great way to learn about new news sources and podcasts and listen while you're in the gym or have that playing through your car stereo. Don't play with your device while you're driving, but cue it up and play it. And I hope that just gives you one more way to listen to the Lean Blog. So I want to thank you, as always, for taking the time to listen. So Al Norval, thanks for being here today on the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me to talk to you today, Mark. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, me too. And before we talk about the manifesto that you've written and published, if you can just start by introducing yourself to the listeners, who you are, and your background and experience with Lean.
Sure, I'd be glad to, Mark. For the folks who don't know me, my name is Al Norval. I'm a professional engineer. I'm a graduate of U of T. Now, Mark's from Texas. U of T up here where I'm from in Toronto, Canada, means University of Toronto. And I'm a chemical engineer. I joined Eastman Kodak Company, and I learned my Lean at Eastman Kodak. Now, Eastman Kodak's not one of those name Lean companies that you would think of, but they were actually very, very good at Lean and have used Lean to try to help them with their transformation from a chemical film-based company to a digital company. And sadly, they've been in the news lately. They're having their struggles with it, but my heart goes out to them, and they were very good at Lean, and they still are trying to use Lean to help them fight the good fight.
Yeah, and not to dwell on this whole thing too long, but with people may be wondering, with Kodak recently filing for bankruptcy, some quick thoughts on. I mean, certainly there were some really large. The world was changing for Kodak, and that's a huge challenge, regardless of any operational excellence or Lean issues. I mean, do you think it just comes down to the world changed too much for Lean to save Kodak any more than Lean was able to keep General Motors out of bankruptcy?
Oh, I think so, Mark. That's it exactly. I think that the company made some poor strategic choices back in the 1980s and early 1990s, trying to protect their traditional film business, which was very profitable, very lucrative, and they didn't want digital to cannibalize that business. And the technology changed much, much faster than anybody had predicted. Although they used Lean very successfully to reduce their lead time in their supply chains, to drive huge waste out of the system, drive more value to their customers. It was too late, and I think extended the life of the company for many, many years. But I think it was too late.
Sure. Well, and so now you've been working with Lean Pathways for how long now as a consultant?
Well, one of the interesting things that happens when companies are having hard times is they have opportunities for people to leave the company. And in 2005, I took one of those opportunities to leave Kodak, and I joined Lean Pathways, where I joined my friend and colleague Pascal Dennis and Lean Pathways, and I've been enjoy it. At Lean Pathways, I'm one of the partners in the company and one of the consultants, and I enjoy spending time with companies and helping companies in their own lean transformation and trying to guide them in terms of implementing really a better business system for them.
Yeah. Well, and in terms of conflict of interest disclosure for listeners, Al and I have done some work together where I've been involved from time and time again with a client involving lean pathways. So we have worked together to make sure that that's out on the table for everybody. But
Thanks, Mark.
We'll talk about lean pathways, and this is really neat 6-page document you published. I want to ask you about that, and you call it a manifesto. And it's funny, I think when you hear the word manifesto, you think of angry documents written by the Unabomber, and maybe the word manifesto has gotten a bad name. It's a really kind of a happy, upbeat document about the great things that come from lean transformation and lean concepts. So I was wondering if you could talk about the origins of the manifesto. Why write it? Why the term manifesto? Gives a little background about how that came to be.
Sure, Mark. I'd be glad to. I think back to when I was learning lean in the mid 1990s, and like everybody else, there's all these strange Japanese words and these new shiny new tools that we're learning, and new terms and new things. And you get enamored by the tools, and over time, people learn to put the tools together and to organize them and build systems. And many people study the Toyota production system to do that. And Kodak, we have the Kodak Operating System, and people start to see how the tools fit together as parts of a whole.
Yeah. But
underlying that, there's a series of principles and philosophy that really is the thinking behind lean. And as much has been written about the tools and the systems, there isn't a lot that is easy to get around the thinking behind lean. I mean, it's there, but it's splattered around, it's piecemeal, it's here and there. And so we decided to put something together that started to really talk about the principles and philosophy and what is central to lean.
Right. So some of the key points, and there's a lot of great themes and key points within the document. We have time to explore some of those here when we're talking. One that jumped out, and I think this is a real an idea that helps set direction, as you highlighted, win-win partnerships. So I was wondering if you can talk about just that idea, how that fits in with lean, how you see that.
Absolutely, Mark. Sadly, in corporate America today, as people companies and organizations are striving to meet their financial targets, one of the things, the routes they take is to beat up suppliers. And as you see companies doing this, there's always what we call the law of unintended consequences. We beat up suppliers; they'll give us the price, but they've got to make some money. They've got to make some margin, to stay in business. So where does it go? If they can't take waste out fast enough, lead time suffers, lot sizes get bigger, quality suffers. And is that really what companies want in order to survive in the long term? And it may make their short-term targets, but we don't meet our long-term targets. So we talk very openly about lean is a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you want a sprint and that will get you short-term earnings and help your quarterly business statements right away, lean isn't for you. Lean is a way of changing our culture in the organization so that we become very sustainable, very profitable in the long term. We drive more value to our customers. And to do that, we have to have long-term stable relationships with our suppliers and our partners. And to do that, we have to recognize that they need to make money as well, but they also need to provide more value to us, and so we need to work together in this win-win partnership to enable them to take waste out of their systems so they can drive more value and create win-win. And lean is about these connections that we have, connections with our customers, connections with our suppliers, connections with our partners, and understanding that it's a long-term connection and for both parties to thrive, we need to take the waste out, drive more value, versus just trying to short-term beat each other up and make our short-term earnings look better.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about value, and I think is one of the things that you highlight nicely in the document. The focus on customer value, creating value. So often people really, I think you would agree, I guess this is part of the question, people give an overly narrow definition of lean and say, lean is all about reducing waste. So I'm curious your thoughts on that.
That's an interesting one, Mark, and we try to highlight that. And I hear that many times from people. And I like to turn it around and say, lean is about providing value. I mean, organizations really should be about providing value in the products and services we deliver to our customers. And if we focus on providing value in our products and services to our customers, if we really understand what drives that value proposition, what do our customers find value in? What would drive more value to them in whatever product or service we deliver? And if we truly understand that and then design our products and services to deliver that value, then we can start to work backwards and say, okay, now, once I know and understand my customer and what drives value, I can look at my processes and say, how can I start to take the waste out of my processes to give my customers what they want, when they want, at the price that they're willing to pay. But it all starts with understanding what the customers want. And so it is about taking waste out of our process, but we can take a lot of waste out that doesn't drive significant amounts of increases in a value proposition to a customer. And what I really want to do is take waste out so that we get huge increases in the value proposition to our customers.
Yeah. So really focusing on value, that is part of what helps you get pointed in the right direction, in addition to that long-term view and trying to help create win-win partnerships, right?
Absolutely. And so it all starts with that. And I think a lot of companies, you get this conflict between, are we here to take waste out, which helps us with our profits, or are we here to drive more value to our customers? And if we drive more value to our customers, then we'll be able to sell more product and grow to success. And it's an interesting dilemma, do we, between a mindset in companies, which is I'll take waste out and then get my short-term profits, versus I'll create more value for my customers and I'll grow to success. As I grow to success and I'm driving or delivering more value to my customers, I still need to take the waste out of my processes in terms of how I deliver my products and services. But part of you talked about it's an upbeat document, and it's an upbeat document because we believe lean is a growth strategy. I firmly believe it's a growth strategy. If we're delivering more value to our customers, then we will start to grow, and as we grow as an organization, we'll have not only financial success, but we'll have the ability then to take waste out as we grow. And so it's a win-win. And the pie gets bigger, and as the pie gets bigger, we can share that pie with all of our partners in our business.
Now, one other thing that would be good to touch on a little bit, talk about the balance between long-term, short-term, or focusing more on long-term, focusing more on value, not just waste. The other balance, you look at the dual pillars of the Toyota production system. One thing you emphasize is not just looking at flow and just in time, or also looking at Jidoka. So for maybe those who are listening who are new to lean, Al, if you could maybe define Jidoka and talk about why that's important, your thoughts on why that equally important pillar doesn't get emphasized as much, perhaps.
Oh, great question, Mark. Thanks. As a framework for the manifesto that we used at the House of Lean, many people I'm sure are familiar with it from Toyota. We have a foundation of standard and stable processes, and on the foundation we have two pillars. One which is just in time, the JIT pillar, and the other one is Jidoka, which is all of a sudden introducing one of these funny sounding Japanese words. And of course, the roof of the house represents our strategy and how we deliver value to not just to our customers, but to all of our partners in the business, to our employees and to our shareholders. And if we look at the model, of the house or the temple of lean, there's so much more out there about the JIT pillar. We see lots of books on pull systems and Kanbans and supermarkets and the formulas and how to calculate tack times. But we don't see a lot about Jidoka. And my guess would be there's for every 10 or 20 books and articles written on JIT, there's probably one written on Jidoka. So what is Jidoka? Jidoka means, if I translate it literally, it means automation. What does that mean? It really means building quality in at the source. It means setting up our basic operations and our processes so that we can detect errors, detect defects, and be able to correct them at the source so that we don't pass poor quality product or poor quality information down to the next operation in the value stream. And it's interesting because as we start to work on just in time and we start to take inventory out of the system and we start to shrink our lead times, if we don't have very high quality materials and very high quality information, then we just end up shipping junk all the way through our supply chains and through our value streams. So the two concepts, go hand in hand. In order to have short lead times and be able to move product very quickly through our value streams, we need to have very high quality goods and services. So I always like to think about Jidoka as three things. We don't accept defects, we don't make defects, and we don't ship defects on to the next operation in the value stream.
Yeah, it's fine. I think a lot of times people would say, well, of course, let's not make defects. But something like the one that's tougher is the idea of, why shouldn't we pass them on to the next step in the process? Where it's so tempting for people to say, and this is, of course, not lean thinking, well, look, it's not my problem, or that's what that department is for, or that's their job, or I'm supposed to hit my numbers, so I don't have time to do it the right way. I mean, can you share some experiences where you've seen maybe people try to help turn around that mindset of why we shouldn't pass on those defects?
Oh, absolutely, Mark. And just a little bit about that. Just want to talk a little more deeper about Jidoka. Jidoka typically has two pieces to it, and one piece is it's allowing machines and equipment to do what they do best, and that is to use their sensors and the analyzers, their instruments, to look for defects. And when they find defects, to alarm us and tell us that there's a defect. But Jidoka is got a very large people component to it, because what do people do best? And that's solve problems. And so Jidoka has both this machine piece, which is finding the defects and telling us about them, and even stopping the process. And people need to also then be engaged in Jidoka by then responding to these alarms, responding to these stoppages, and starting to then solve problems. And that's what people do best. And that's the piece of Jidoka that I love. It's very, very consistent with what we call respect for the humanity, or respect for the dignity of people. Problem solving is one of the ways that we show respect for people. We're making full use of their talents and their abilities, and their skills by allowing them to problem solve. You can imagine a situation where we get an alarm and people come back. They start to they answer the alarm, but they're not allowed to problem solve. Well, we're not making use of the knowledge that those people have, because the people who are closest to the work, have the most knowledge about the work. We also are not making use of good problem solving. The evidence and the causal analysis in the problem solving will degrade over time. People closest to the work are able to get the evidence when it's fresh, do the causal analysis, understand all the conditions, and solve the problems very, very quickly. So not only is it making use of their talents, the problem-solving talents as an individual, but it makes good sense to do it because they can see, they know all the process conditions, they know all the little nuances of what was happening at the time to help us then problem solve. So Jidoka and respect for people, very much go hand in hand. And it's one of the reasons why we emphasized it and why I like to emphasize it, because it starts to pull people in and engage people and shows them that respect for problem solving.
Yeah. Well, and so that idea of engaging people in finding problems, engaging people in improvement. Maybe the final thing we can talk about is the idea of, as you highlight it on one of the pages in the manifesto, engaging hearts and minds. And I think the method you talk about for doing that might be one method that people might overlook as a way of engaging people. So I was wondering if you could talk to us about that.
Absolutely. My belief, Mark, and we've tried to convey this in what you called our happy, upbeat document, is that lean is 90% about people, and it's 10% about the tools and techniques. And that's part of why that lean is transferable. We could use it in manufacturing. We can use it in a service industry. We can use it in healthcare because it's about people, and it's about taking these principles and the thinking and applying it to the exact situation. The application is a little bit different. The thinking's the same. And part of the thinking is our problem-solving thinking about engaging people. So engaging people means that we're empowering people to solve problems themselves or in their teams. It's not the management or the leaders, the people higher up in the hierarchy, the organization in their ivory towers solving problems. It's people closest to the work solving the problems. And how do we do that? Well, we need to have people engage not just their minds and their problem-solving ability, but their hearts. And their hearts are, I really want to do this because I want to make this a better place to work. I want to do this because it drives more value to our patients, to our customers. It's engaging the hearts of people, and if we can engage not just the minds of people to actually solve problems, but their hearts, which is the willingness to be able to do it, when you walk into a company that is doing that or an organization that's doing that, you just get this wonderful sense of what a great place to work. Because people are used, you've seen that, you've felt that, you feel it. You can just go in, you can feel it. Because people are, it's not that they're not busy, they're busy, but they're busy and they're happy in their work, and they know that they're driving for a greater good, a better good for customers, their patients. And so engaging their hearts in this willingness to actually go the extra step and problem solve is so critical to the thinking behind lean.
Yeah. And then where does strategy deployment, enter in terms of the role in that engagement, or the right sequence, or the right timing to try to get that methodology in place? And some listeners, again, if they're new to lean, might not be real familiar with strategy deployment. So, what's your kind of brief summary? We could do a whole 20 minutes talking about strategy deployment.
We sure could. There's something that's near and dear to my heart. But strategy deployment is really a way of pointing the organization and where we want the organization to go. But the key is that we align and focus the entire organization to help us get there. So most organizations have a mission and visions, and here's where we want to go. And it's not that they're wrong, but they're not engaging the people and in terms of the dialogue and discussion, in terms of how do we get there,
right. And
they're not getting the buy-in of the people to help us get there.
Well, but can't they just force that buy-in? I said that tongue-in-cheek. But you talk about collaboration and engagement. I think a lot of times people have the misperception that, we come up with our strategy and we deploy the heck out of it and force people to get on board. Sorry to cut you off there, but No,
you're absolutely right. And I hear this from leadership teams many times. Well, we told the people this is what we wanted them to do. Well, that's not engaging them so that they're actually willing, and they're giving us that willingness to be able to help move us forward.
Yeah. Well, Al, thanks for talking about there's a wide range of topics that we've touched on, but I think there's been a lot of there are a lot of great themes you touch on in such a short document, 6-page manifesto that you've written. Where can people go and learn more about lean pathways, and what's the easiest way to go and read that document?
Okay, the manifesto is available on our website, which is www.leansystems.org, and that'll take you to the main landing page on the website. And there is one of the buttons there is called Shop, and if you just click on the Shop button, various options are available, and the manifesto is there. It's a free download, and just click on the free download, and you will be able to get a copy of the manifesto.
Well, great, and thank you for sharing that. Thank you for making that available as a free download. So I hope people will go and take a look. So again, our guest has been Al Norval from Lean Pathways. It was great talking to you.
Great talking, Mark. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Sure thing.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Lean Blog Podcast. For Lean news and commentary updated daily, visit www.leanblog.org. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, email Mark at leanpodcast@gmail.com.